Hello students, in this video now I am going to explain about the structural theory in organic chemistry. In this chapter here we will try to understand how the structure of the organic compound affects their chemical as well as the physical properties. Okay, so that is the main point here we have to understand. And here first of all, we go for the inductive effect. And before going to the inductive effect, first of all, we have to understand the concept of the electronegativity, and we have to know the electronegativity values of the some elements. Okay, so okay. Here we know very well that electronegativity comes into the scene whenever uh, two different atoms are attached to one another. That means it is related to the heteroatomic molecules. In homoatomic molecules, like hydrogen atom and for example, see here in the hydrogen molecule. Okay, here this is a hydrogen molecule is a homoatomic molecule. In this one, two hydrogen atoms are bonded with one another, and the nuclear charge, the effective nuclear charge of these two atoms is same. As a result, the electron pair exactly lies in the middle position. This electron pair does not move to the either atom. Okay, but whenever we consider the HCl, for example, we take HCl or HF. Here, atomic number of chlorine is 17, and atomic number of the hydrogen is 1. And effective nuclear charge of the chlorine is very high compared to the hydrogen. As a result, the electron pair does not lie exactly in the middle position. The electron pair slightly moves towards to the chlorine. Okay. So as a result, the chlorine gets partial negative charge and hydrogen gets partial positive charge. Here, partial is indicated by the small delta, partial. Okay, partial positive and partial negative. So the electron pair slightly moves towards to the chlorine atom. So this type of tendency of an element or of an atom to attract the bond electron pair towards it is known as the electronegativity. Okay, so here I go for the definition once again. The relative tendency or power of an element in a molecule to attract the shared pair of electron towards itself is known as its electronegativity. Okay, and so depending on the effective nuclear charge, electronegativity also varies. Here we have the two types of scales to measure the electronegativities. One of them is the Linus-Pauling's scale, and the second one of them is the Mulliken scales. But here we are going about the Linus-Pauling equation. Linus-Pauling expressed electronegativity by this equation. Look here. XA minus XB is equal to 0.102 under root of delta. Here XA XB are the electronegativities of the two elements A and B, and delta lambda is known as the resonance energy, and it is calculated by this equation EAB minus, this is not 6, sorry, minus uh, 1 by 2 EAA plus EBB. So here EAB is the bond energy of the AB molecule, and EAA is the bond energy of the A molecule, and EBB is the energy of the BB molecule. So here it is the average of the AA and BB molecules, and this is the bond energy of the AB molecule. So here, like this, we calculate the delta, and after calculating the delta we have to substitute in this equation, and we have to find out the uh, electronegativity of the unknown element. And here to know the to calculate the electronegativity of the one element, you have to know the electronegativity of the other element. So for that purpose, fluorine is taken as the reference element, and its electronegativity is fixed as 4. Its electronegativity is fixed as 4, and by using that, electronegativity of the other elements were calculated. Here, some electronegativities of the some elements are there. We have to learn them and we have to remember them. Here, we know very well that electronegativities of the noble gases is 0, because earlier it was thought that noble gases do not participate in the chemical bonding. No, so that's why their electronegativities are considered as 0, and fluorine electronegativity is fixed as 4. No, so it is 4. And here these are the second period elements, okay, and these are the third period elements. And here electronegativity of the hydrogen is 2.1, and here there is a simple relation is there to remember the electronegativity of the second period elements. Look here, lithium electronegativity is 1, barium electronegativity is 1.5. Luckily we are having a zero point 0.5 difference, and boron electronegativity is 2, carbon electronegativity is 2.5, nitrogen electronegativity is 3, oxygen electronegativity is 3.5, and fluorine electronegativity is 4. And most electronegative element is fluorine, and its value is 4. Fluorine and 4, that we have to remember. And in the third period elements, electronegativity of the sodium is 0.9, and electronegativity of the magnesium is 1.2. Electronegativity of aluminum is 1.5. Electronegativity of the silicon is 1.8. Phosphorus electronegativity is 2.1, and sulfur's electronegativity is 2.5. Chlorine electronegativity is 3. Here we know very well that magnesium atomic number is 12. So if you know the electronegativity of the magnesium, you can easily remember these values. Magnesium atomic number is 12, and electronegativity is 1.2. Atomic number is 12, electronegativity is 1.2. So like that we can easily remember. And here the electronegativity of the sodium is 0.3 less, that means 0.9. Look here, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3 difference is there. And from phosphorus to sulfur we have the 0.4 difference, and from sulfur to chlorine we have the 0.5 difference. Okay na? So 0.3 difference, 0.3 difference, 0.3 difference, 0.3 difference. But from phosphorus to sulfur we have the 0.4 difference, and from sulfur to chlorine we have the 0.5 difference. So like that we can easily remember. And the magnesium atomic number is 12, and electronegativity is 1.2. 12 and 1.2, like that we can easily remember. And here sulfur electronegativity of the sulfur, carbon and iodine is 2.5. We can remember this as the psi. Okay, na? Science, in science, science spelling is SCIENC, so like that we can easily remember that electronegativities of the sulfur, carbon and iodine are same, and that is the 2.5. And electronegativities of the hydrogen and phosphorus are same, that is the 2.1. Hydrogen and phosphorus electronegativities are same, that is 2.1. HP gas, like that we can easily remember. And electronegativity of the nitrogen and chlorine is same, that is 3. Electronegativity of nitrogen and chlorine is the same, that is 3. Okay. And barium, barium and sodium have the same electronegativity, that is 0.9. So we can easily remember it as the banana, BANANA. So we are taking Na two times in order to remember easily banana. So atomic number electronegativity is 0.9. So like that we can easily remember banana for the sodium and barium. Point 9 electronegativity. Okay, so these are the some electronegativities. And now we have to go for another concept, that is the bond polarization. Here, depending on the difference in the electronegativities, the bond shared bond electron pair does not lie exactly in the middle position. So the bond electron pair moves slightly towards to the more electronegative atom. As a result, the more electronegative atom gets the partial negative charge, and less electronegative atom gets the partial positive charge. For example, here in this hydrogen fluoride, fluorine is more electronegative. As a result, it's getting partial negative charge, and hydrogen is getting partial positive charge. So this type of appearance of charge on the atoms of a molecule is known as the bond polarization. So this type of bond polarization is also possible in the organic compounds also. For example, here we can observe the methyl chloride. In the methyl chloride, we know already we have learned that carbon electronegativity is 2.5 and chlorine electronegativity is 3. So as the electronegativity of chlorine is more, the bond electron pair moves slightly towards to the chlorine. As a result, chlorine gets partial negative charge, and this carbon of the methyl group gets the partial positive charge. So now this methyl chloride is a non-polar molecule, even though it is a covalent compound, and it contains covalent bond, but this CCl bond is a polarized bond. Okay, so that phenomenon is known as here bond polarization. So actually in organic compounds, in between two carbon atoms, there there is no electronic difference, no? As a result, we don't observe any charge on them. That means we don't observe effect of one carbon atom on the other carbon atom. But whenever a more electronegative atom is attached to the one of the terminal carbons, then charge what is that, bond polarization takes place. And for example, here 1 chloropropane, you see here we are taking the 1 chloropropane. Here chlorine is more electronegative element. As a result, we observe the negative charge on the chlorine. This induces positive charge on the carbon atom. Now as the positive charge appears on this carbon atom, this becomes more electronegative atom than the simple carbon atom. So this carbon atom now drags the electron pairs from the other this bond. As a result, this carbon gets some positive charge in it. Here, as the number of deltas increase, the quantity of the charge decreases. That we have to understand. And as a result, this carbon also becomes the electronegative atom. As a result, we observe the positive charge on this last carbon. So like that, here the more electronegative atom causes the bond polarization, and this bond polarization makes the carbon atoms electropositive or electronegative, and that tendency is continued in the carbon chain. As a result, carbon atoms in the carbon compounds get some charges, partial negative or positive charges on them. So such type of effect is here called as the inductive effect. So Here sigma bond electron pair is displaced. So your inductive effect means displacement of the sigma bond electrons. Now we go for the perfect definition. Okay na? So the permanent displacement of sigma bond electron pairs in a carbon chain towards to the more electronegative group is known as the inductive effect. The permanent displacement of a sigma bond electron pairs in a carbon chain towards to the more electronegative group is known as the inductive effect. Now we go for the characteristics of the inductive effect. Inductive effect always takes place between a carbon atom and an electronegative atom of a group sharing only a pair of electrons. In other words, inductive effect involves only a single bond. So in inductive effect only one sigma bond involves. Okay, it is no double bond or no triple bond, only single bond is involving in the inductive effect. And inductive effect is a permanent and irreversible effect. It is not a temporary effect. It may take place in the presence or in the absence of the reagent. So yeah, presence of reagent is not needed. This is a inbuilt bond polarization. It is not induced bond polarization. So next, third point is that the displaced electrons do not leave their orbitals. So electrons of the bond polarization are not going to leave the orbitals. Only the orbital shapes are deformed, and this deformation of the orbitals causes the bond polarization. The electron displacement progressively decreases along the carbon chain as the carbon directly attached to the substituent increases. Already we have observed this point in the 1-chloropropane. Look here, gradually the charge is decreasing from the first terminal carbon to the last carbon. The charge is slowly decreasing. We go for the next point. Different groups cause the different polarity of to different extents. All the groups do not cause the same type of polarization. The extent of polarization is different by the different groups. And sixth point is that polarization of electron is always in that single direction. Here the electron pair moves towards to the more electronegative atom. So that's why it is this displacement is a single direction displacement. But in a resonance is not a single direction displacement. That is reversible. What is it? The displacement of the electron there takes place in the both directions, not in the single direction. Okay. Now we can remember the characteristics of the inductive effect with this shortcut. That is the 3 special, 3SPL, 3S, 1P and 1L. Here 1S stands for the sigma bond electrons. That means in the inductive effect sigma bond electrons involved. Another S stands for the saturated compound. This is inductive effect occurs in the saturated compounds. And third point says that the displacement takes place in the single direction. Third is for single direction. And P for permanent effect. This is a permanent effect. And L for the electrons never leave the orbitals. Depending on the situation, here inductive effect is classified into two types. One is the plus I inductive effect and other one is the minus I inductive effect. Here minus I groups means minus I effect or minus I group means the groups which increase electron density on the carbon chain are known as the which increase the electron density on the carbon chain are called as the plus I groups, and the groups which decrease the electron density on the carbon chain are called as the minus I groups. Okay na? So when carbon is hydrocarbon organic compound, when the carbons are attached to the more electronegative elements like nitrogen, oxygen and halogens directly, then they drag the electron pairs towards them. As a result, they cause positive charge on the carbon atom. So that's why they are known as the minus inductive effect groups. And in the similar way, not only those halogens and oxygen and nitrogen atoms, other functional groups are also there which act as the minus I groups. For example, NH3 plus group is the NH3 plus group is the most strongest minus IE group, and here weakest minus IE group is hydrogen. So this is the order that we have to remember. In the second place we have the nitro group, and this is cyanide, and this is sulfonic acid group, and this is aldehyde. Carbonyl means ketone, and carboxylic acid, acid chloride, ester group, amide, fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, hydroxide, and alkoxy group, ethereal group, and amino group, and phenyl group. So this is the order for the minus I affecting groups. Minus I say once again what is meant by minus I group. Okay na? So the groups which decrease the electron density on the carbon atoms in the organic molecules are known as the minus I groups. And plus now we go for the plus I groups. Plus I group means the groups which increase the electron density on the carbon atoms of the carbon chain are called as the plus I groups. Here generally alkyl groups come under this category. Tertiary alkyl is strongest plus I inductive effect group, and hydrogen is least comes least in this series. And look at tertiary alkyl is strong plus I group than the secondary alkyl group, which in turn is a strong plus I group than the primary alkyl group. And primary alkyl group is a strong plus I group than the methyl group, and methyl group is strong alkyl group than the hydrogen. So by using the inductive effect, we can explain some important physical and chemical properties very easily. First one of them is the stability of the carbocations. Stability of the alkyl carbocation is directly proportional to the 1 by magnitude of the positive charge. So as the positive charge increases, the stability of the carbocation decreases, because the charge destabilizes the atoms or cations. So that's why stability of alkyl carbocations indirectly proportional to the quantity or magnitude of the positive charge. And we know very well that magnitude of the positive charge is proportional to the plus I of inversely related to the plus I power of the alkyl groups. So by keeping the equation 1 and equation 2 in the mind, if we club them, we get the third equation, that is stability of alkyl carbocation. Stability of alkyl carbocation is directly proportional to the plus psi power of the group present on the carbocation. That means if the number of the plus psi groups increases on the carbocations, stability also increases.
पवार खत्म हो
मैं
गया
only
ఎందుకు ఊపినట్టు
yeah, this is methyl group, and methyl carbocation is a primary carbocation, and this is another carbocation like ethyl carbocation, and this is secondary carbocation. These two are methyl carbocation, and this carbocation are primary carbocations, and this is secondary carbocation. For example, for the secondary carbocation we take the isopropyl carbocation as the example, isopropyl, and this is the tertiary carbocation. So for the tertiary carbocation we take tertiary butyl carbocation as the best example. Okay, so when we move from the methyl carbocation to the tertiary carbocation, the number of the alkyl groups are increasing on the carbon which is bearing the positive charge. Here this carbon bears the positive charge and it attached to the only hydrogen atoms, whereas this carbon is attached to the only one alkyl group. This carbon is attached to the two alkyl groups. This carbon on which positive charge is there is attached to the three alkyl groups. So, and we know very well that alkyl groups are plus psi groups. Plus psi groups. They increase the electron. They push the electrons towards to the carbon which is bearing the positive charge. So, as a result, what happens? The positive charge of the carbon will be nullified. So, as the number of the alkyl groups increase, the burden on the carbon decreases, the carbon of the carbocation decreases, and the stability increases. That means compared to the methyl carbocation, primary carbocation is more stable, and compared to the primary carbocation, secondary carbocation is more stable, and compared to the secondary carbocation, tertiary carbocation is more stable. Now we go for the strength of the acids. Here organic acids general formula is RCOH or COH. So here these acids are Bronsted-Lowry acids. So they release H plus ions and themselves change into the carboxylate anions. So this reaction is more favorable when this carboxylic acid is attached to a electron withdrawing group. So electron withdrawing group stabilizes the carboxylate anion and increases the acidic strength. Okay, so here we can write an equation like this. Strength of the acids is directly proportional to the 1 by the plus power of the group present on the carboxylic acid. Okay na? So so the groups with which withdraw electron density from the oxygen of the OH group, increase the acidic strength, and the group which increases or which pushes the electrons onto the oxygen decrease the acidic strength of the carboxylic acids. So that's why we can write this equation that strength of the acid is directly proportional to the plus psi power of the groups that are attached to this carboxylic acid. Now look here, for example, here acetic acid, propanoic acid, butyric acid, and valeric acids are taken, and here And here I forgot to write the formic acid. In formic acid, there is no alkyl group. Okay, na? So here, when we move from formic acid to the valeric acid, the number of the alkyl groups is increasing. As a result, plus I power also increases. As the plus I power increases, the acidic strength decreases, because the alkyl groups increase the electron density on the oxygens. As a result, these oxygen atoms hold the H plus ions very strongly. As a result, acidic strength decreases. Now we go for the second example for the strength of the acids. Look here. Here, this is the fluoroacetic acid, bromoacetic acid, and iodoacetic acid. We know very well that fluorine is more electronegative atom than the chlorine, bromine, and iodine. And electronegativity is increasing from iodine to the fluorine. That means minus I power is increasing from iodine to the fluorine. So as a result, fluoroacetic acid becomes the strongest acid among the chloro, bromo, and iodoacetic acids. So electronegativity decreases from iodine to the fluorine. As a result, minus I power increases. As a result, acidic strength also increases. Now we go for third example for the strength of the acids. Look here, this is the chloroacetic acid. Okay, alpha chloroacetic acid, alpha and beta chloro. This is beta chloropropanoic acid, and alpha, beta, and gamma. So this is gamma chlorobutyric acid. Gamma chlorobutyric acid, alpha chloroacetic acid, beta chloropropanoic acid, gamma chlorobutyric acid. So here we know very well that halogens increase the acidic strength of the carboxylic acids. But here, from chloroacetic acid to the chlorobutyric acid, the chlorine is moving away from the chlorine is moving away from the carboxylic acid. That means the minus I effect decreases. As a result, acidic strength also decreases from chloroacetic acid to the butyric acid. Otherwise, you can think in the reverse manner also. Here, minus I power increases as the distance between the chlorine decreases from butyric acid to the acetic acid. Minus I power increases. As a result, acidic strength also increases. We can convey in the both the ways. Okay. Now we go for the strength of the bases. We know very well that nitrogen containing compounds are good bases. Ammonia is the best example for a base, because as these compounds which contain nitrogen act as the Lewis bases. In ammonia, nitrogen is attached to the only hydrogen atoms. And here, next one is the methylamine. Here in methylamine is a primary amine, and in this case, nitrogen is amine group is attached to the one methyl group, one alkyl group. And we know very well that alkyl groups are plus I groups. Alkyl groups are plus I groups. They increase the electron density on the nitrogen atoms. So when they increase the electron density on the nitrogen atom, the ability of the nitrogen atom to donate the electron pair increases. As a result, compared to the ammonia, methylamine becomes a strong base, and compared to the methylamine, dimethylamine, that is secondary amine, becomes a strong acid. And compared to this, tertiary amine should be the strongest acid, but actually secondary amine is found to be the strongest acid base among these four bases, because due to the steric hindrance, the tertiary amine cannot donate the electron pair uh, perfectly. As a result, it becomes somewhat weak base compared to the secondary amine. So, among all these amines, dimethyl amine or secondary amine is the strongest base. Now, we go for the strength of the alcohols. Alcohols are also behave as the acids because alcohols lose H plus ion and they form alkoxide ions like this. Alkoxide ions. Okay, so if the electron density on the oxygen increases, the it will not lose the H plus ions. So here we are taking methyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, uh, isopropyl alcohol and tertiary butyl alcohol. Here from methyl alcohol to the tertiary butyl alcohol, from methyl alcohol to the tertiary butyl alcohol, the number of the alkyl groups is increasing. As a result, the negative charge on the oxygen atom increases. As a result, oxygen holds the H plus ion very strongly. As a result, the acidic strength decreases from methyl alcohol to the tertiary butyl alcohol. That means primary alcohols are strong acids than the secondary alcohols. Secondary alcohols are strong acids than the tertiary alcohols. Now we go for the stability of the alkyl and vinyl carbocations. Here for the alkyl carbocation, we take the ethyl carbocation as the example. In ethyl carbocation, the carbon which is bearing the positive charge is sp2 hybridized carbon, and in what is that? Vinyl carbocation, the carbon which is having positive charge is sp hybrid carbon, and we know very well that the percentage of s orbital in sp2 hybrid orbitals is only 33.3, and in sp hybrid orbitals the percentage of carbon is 50%. That means the s orbital in sp hybridization goes very closely to the nucleus compared to the s orbital in the sp2 hybrid orbitals. As a result, the sp hybrid orbitals become more electronegative than the sp2 hybrid orbitals. So that's why we can say that vinyl carbocation is more stable because more electronegative atom is bearing the positive charge. So that's why we can say that vinyl carbocation is more stable than the alkyl carbocation.